Let's start with our Tennessee football breakdown, position by position as Tennessee football team. Quarterback. There's 4 right now, only 2 scholarship quarterbacks. Justin Worley, Patrick Ashford, Nathan Peterman, Joe Stockstill, the 4 quarterbacks in camp right now. 2 more coming in the fall. What do you think about that matchup for the starting spot between Justin Worley and Nathan Peterman?
Yeah, I'm giving a slight edge at the beginning to Justin Worley just because when I think it's 50-50, I usually break the tie in favor of experience. And Worley has played real snaps in each of the last 2 years, whereas Nathan Peterman is still has not taken a snap in a college game. But I understand the thought process that perhaps Peterman's a better fit for Butch Jones' offense, and that Butch Jones does have that experience with him through the recruiting process. So I think it'll be a very open 50-50 battle. Obviously the incoming freshman will make it interesting in the summer, but I think it's going to be up to these 2 guys to kind of set the tone in spring.
Love that music. Man, can't get that enough. The tailbacks. There are 7 of them in camp right now going into the spring, according to the pre-spring roster. And we'll see if there's any changes on Friday when Butch Jones meets with the media, and then practice will start on Saturday. But here are your tailbacks. You have redshirt senior Reggie Guin, or Rajon Neal senior, DeAnthony Summerhill, redshirt junior, Marlon Lane junior, Devin Young junior, Tom Smith, redshirt sophomore, Alden Hill, redshirt freshman, and then coming in the fall, Jabo Lee. What do you think about that competition with those 7 backs?
Well, I like Rajon Neal and Marlon Lane a lot, and I think they showed signs last year that, at least in glimpses, that they had the ability to be, premier SEC backs. They're just not there yet. I think the thing I'm most interested in is, at least on paper, Devin Young seems like he might be a good fit for this type of offense. Will he get more opportunities? He's certainly a guy that's been hungering for those. And then Tom Smith and Alden Hill are 2 guys that have just been forgotten, and they need to step up or they're going to risk being lost in the shuffle, not just this year but going forward in the next year as they keep recruiting running backs. So I think those younger guys will be ones to watch to see if they make an impact and can break into the rotation.
Position by position on this Tennessee football team. Here are your wide receivers. Tyler Drummer, redshirt senior. Jacob Carter, redshirt junior. Dylan West, redshirt junior. Spencer Mackle from Catholic, redshirt junior. Vincent Dallas, a junior. It's amazing that he's already a junior. Brent Parisi, redshirt sophomore from Bearden. Alton Pig Howard, sophomore. Cody Blank, sophomore from Central playing his freshman year. Dre Bowles, redshirt freshman. Jason Kroom, redshirt freshman. Part of that number 1 wide receiver class from last year, according to 24/7. Rest of the receivers, Sam Cranford, redshirt freshman. Winston Williams, redshirt freshman. Paul Harris, true freshman, early enrollee. The other 3 receivers from this class, Marquez North, Ryan Jenkins, Josh Smith, they will be here in the fall. What do you think of this group of wide receivers, 13 of them in spring practice?
Yeah, it's they do have some bodies. They just don't have any experience, really, or at least not significant experience. The guy who's played in the most games is Vincent Dallas, and he's spent at least part of his career, or at least part of his practice time on the other side of the ball playing defense. And then, you've got some other walk-ons and former walk-ons that have played in very, very limited roles. I go back to that class you referenced. I like Dre Bowles, Jason Kroom, Pig Howard. Those are guys that were highly recruited, and what little we've seen of them has been pretty positive. The Jason Kroom, I think, would have played a role either at tight end or at wide receiver last year had he stayed healthy. Pig Howard, they were looking for ways to get him the ball last year, and I think they'll continue to do it this year. And Dre Bowles, who I think we've heard some good things about, and redshirted last year, but has some ability. But there's no way to spin it. This is a very, very young, inexperienced group, and there's no way you're going to get experience until you get them out on the field.
You mentioned with the running backs, you mentioned that Lane and Neal are both 4-star recruits. All those receivers from last year, all of them were 4 stars.
Yeah, absolutely. And people forget that. People get so excited in the recruiting process, and then you kind of lose track of guys after a couple years. But yeah, these were highly rated recruits, all 3 of the ones we mentioned.
Shh, listen. Love that. The versatility of our music underneath. Well done, Mr. Rabb. All right, tight ends. Joseph Ayers, redshirt senior from Knoxville. Dakota Summers, redshirt junior. Brendan Downs, junior. Alex Ellis, redshirt sophomore. Justin Meredith. This is everyone on the spring roster. We'll listen to all the guys, and we'll talk about them. Justin Meredith, redshirt freshman. David Page, redshirt freshman. Charles Folger, redshirt freshman. Coming in the fall, A.J. Branisell and Woody Quinn. What do you think of the 7 tight ends in spring practice?
Yeah, I'll start with the scholarship guys. I think it's going to start with Brendan Downs and Justin Meredith. And for Brendan Downs to have a full year healthy under his belt, I think will be very impressive, very positive for him. And Justin Meredith will be getting his first shot. And then, Woody Quinn was brought into play immediately, and you can see why, because they're kind of thin as far as scholarship guys at that tight end position, so he'll have a chance in the fall. But the big question for me is, how is the tight end going to fit in Butch's offense? I think he likes using it a lot. That's why they went after 2 tight ends in this class. That was a big priority for him. But I think the job is Brendan Downs to lead with right now, and for him to be healthy for a full year, and go into spring healthy, I think will be important.
Based on the fullbacks that are available, there's 3 of them. Austin Bolin from Farragut, redshirt senior. Justin King, a sophomore who has bounced around positions. And then Rion Wedley, redshirt freshman from Humboldt. The tight ends are probably going to be used as fullbacks a decent amount.
Yeah, and that's another question that we'll have going in, is how they're going to, will there be a real firm line between the tight ends, H-backs, fullbacks, or will they all be kind of interchangeable? And I tend to think they'll be fairly interchangeable, and so you could probably throw Justin King in this group here, and he'll probably be doing a lot of the similar things that some of the tight ends are.
Offensive line. Here's the group. There's 14 offensive linemen on the spring roster. Alex Bullard, redshirt senior. Jawan James, senior. Zach Fulton, senior. James Stone, senior. Marquise Pear, redshirt junior. Jacob Gilliam, redshirt junior from Farragut. Brock Collier, redshirt junior. Tiny Richardson, junior. Marcus Jackson, junior. Kyler Curbison, redshirt sophomore from Catholic. Alan Posey, redshirt sophomore. Matt Crowder, redshirt sophomore. Isaac Mobley, redshirt sophomore from West. John Simcox, redshirt freshman. And then 3 more coming in the fall in Austin Sanders, Dylan Weissman, Brett Kendrick, part of that 2013 class. 14 guys right now. Strength of the team?
Well, at least on the front line, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we can pretty much name the starting lineup right now. And I know coaches like to say, oh, every job's open, there's competition. But this is going to be a tough spot to even manufacture competition, because it's kind of obvious. You're going to have, starting with the 4 guys that are returning, you're going to have James Stone at center on the right side. You're going to have Zach Fulton and Jawan James on the left side. You're going to have at least Tiny Richardson. And then I think the only battle, and I think the coaches would feel good about either of these guys, is Marcus Jackson and Alex Bullard for that left side guard spot. And frankly, they could both play. The guy that's not going to play is going to be it's not going to start is going to be the 6th man off the bench. They're both fairly flexible. They can play some different spots. So I think if you look at those 6 guys, those are your starters. Those are your starting group. But to focus on what they need to do this spring, talk about guys like Kyler Curbison, Matt Crowder. They may not be important this year unless there are injuries, but next year they're going to need guys like that to not only play, but to be starters and be leaders. I mean, this is a line that's going to be disappearing next year, so they need to start developing some of those guys now to not only be players, starters, but anchoring the line, and that's a tall order.
Here your defensive line, Evan. It's Maurice Couch, redshirt senior. Marlon Walls, redshirt senior. Daniel Hood, redshirt senior from Catholic. Jaquez Smith, senior. Daniel McCullers, senior. Corey Miller, senior. Greg Clark, redshirt junior. Jordan Williams, junior. Travar Salisbury, redshirt sophomore. Alan Carson, redshirt sophomore. Danny O'Brien, redshirt freshman. That's the group in the spring. 3 more coming in the fall. Jason Carr, Jalen Miller, Malik Brown, all part of the 2013 class. What do you think of that group of 11 defensive linemen in the spring?
Yeah, I think there's some questions here, because it's going to depend on how they sort things out from going to the 3-4 back to the 4-3. They're a little bit thin on the end, and that makes me wonder if there's some linebackers that were kind of hybrids that they might move back down to end. Obviously, Jaquez Smith is coming back down to end, but I wonder if there are some others like LaTroy Lewis who are a little bit big-sized linebackers who might come down to defensive end. But obviously, you've got McCullers and presumably Mo Couch going back inside as 2 decent options in there. You've got Jaquez Smith as an option on the end. Corey Miller is a guy that can play inside or outside, but you'd think if they're a little thin on the end, they might put him out there. But they've got a lot to sort out, and again, they've got some numbers there. It's not a real shortage per se, but they've just got to sort out who's going where and who's the best fit. And we talk again about high-profile guys during the recruiting process that you might have forgotten about. Danny O'Brien, who redshirted last year, was a 4-star. He might get his first chance to kind of try to crack into the rotation. And there are some other guys we've just forgotten about over the years, who will have a chance this spring to move up. But it's a relatively veteran group. They've got some experienced guys in there. It's just who's going to play where.
And some junior college representation, too, with Couch and McCullers and Walls as well.
Yeah, I should have mentioned him as well. He's, I think, fifth-year, senior, or at least, experienced senior. A guy that I think at least going in is going to be in the inside rotation and can do a lot of things as well.
The thing that I think brings down people's opinion of the defensive line is, yes, they have the experience, but we haven't seen productivity, explosiveness, upside, living up to recruiting. You know that this isn't a star-studded group. You've already seen it maxed out when you look at it. Other than maybe a McCullers or a Couch maybe making that next step, because those are junior college guys.
Right. And, I think McCullers potentially is a guy that say, okay, he had a nice first year in big-time college football. Does he take that next step and become an elite player and do more? And you could see signs of that towards the end of last season, that he was getting a chance to do more. How will this defense fit him? Those will be the things to watch.
Linebackers, 15 of them in spring practice. Greg King, redshirt senior. Dontavis Sapp, senior. Channing Fugit, senior. Raquez Crump, senior. John Probst, senior. Greg Greco, redshirt junior from Farragut. Kurt Majit, junior. A.J. Johnson, junior. Christian Harris, redshirt sophomore. Michael Cantwell, redshirt sophomore from Morristown West. LaTroy Lewis, redshirt freshman. Kenny Bynum, redshirt freshman. Justin Thomas, redshirt freshman. Nicolay Timoshuk, redshirt freshman from Chattanooga. And then Corey Vereen, early enroll, true freshman. What do you think of that group of 15 linebackers?
Well, let's just start by saying A.J. Johnson and Kurt Majit pencil in as starters. Then the question becomes, who's next? And you have some really experienced guys who have been journeymen, who have been solid special teams guys, who have occasionally been reserves, but have never either taken the next step or never been given a chance. And so you wonder, okay, Fugit, Sapp, Crump, Probst, all seniors, all have played a lot, just never really in a featured linebacking role, a lot of special teams. They've been around the bend. Will one of those guys emerge? And we've heard good things about Sapp as a potential third linebacker. So I think that'll be the battle to watch, those veterans, who emerges as that third linebacker.
Corey Vereen might be another candidate. Put his hand down, put some weight on him at some point, and get after the quarterback, because he did a lot of that in high school.
Yeah, you look at the sizes. He's a candidate. LaTroy Lewis, 6'4", 240. Kenny Bynum, 6'1", 240. But especially Lewis, you say, hey, gain an extra 10 or 15 or 20 pounds, and you could be a hybrid defensive end linebacker type guy. And if they decide they're thin on the ends, they do have some candidates for that.
And Lewis and Bynum are interesting to keep an eye on, because they both have some relationships with Butch Jones coming in. Defensive backs, 18 of them. Here's the group. Byron Moore, redshirt senior. Eric Gordon, redshirt senior. Naz Oliver, redshirt senior. Brent Brewer, senior. Jerron Toney, redshirt junior. Tyler Combs, redshirt junior. Brian Randolph, back from injury, junior. Justin Coleman, junior. Riyad Jones, coming in as a junior, as a JUCO in this 2013 signing class. Geraldo Orta, redshirt sophomore. Michael Williams, redshirt sophomore from Bearden. Max Arnold, redshirt sophomore. Tyron Fairman, redshirt sophomore. LaDarryl McNeil, sophomore. Daniel Gray, sophomore. Tino Thomas, redshirt freshman. Two more from the 2013 class listed as athletes, but in the defensive back groups. Jalen Reeves-Maben, freshman, and Lehman Johnson, freshman. Then two more coming in the fall. Cameron Sutton, Malik Foreman. What do you think of that group of 18 DBs?
Well, we talked about it during the the commercial break, I feel like this is a group that can't possibly be as bad as they showed at times last year. And the trick for the coaching staff will be just to say, hey, it's a clean slate. Forget everything you learned last year, or forget everything that went wrong last year, and let's just start fresh. But they do have some guys that are experienced. Eric Gordon, Brent Brewer, Justin Coleman, Byron Moore, Jerron Toney, Brian Randolph, Darryl McNeil. All those guys have played a lot. Not always well, but sometimes, have shown, capabilities of being SEC players. So they're not starting from scratch. They're starting with a foundation. It's just a matter of getting some of those experienced guys opportunities. I mean, among the younger players, I absolutely expect Ladarius McNeil can push to be a starting safety. Daniel Gray can push to be a starting cornerback. I don't know whether he'll get there. He was burned during his one start. But they have some talent in those younger groups, and that doesn't even include all the freshmen and JUCO newcomers that are going to come this spring and into the summer.
Don't be surprised that Jalen Reeves-Maben is getting in a conversation on the depth chart. The kid is smart. He is versatile. He's athletic. He's an early enrollee. He's going to get a jump on some of those other guys. I think he's a guy that's going to be a factor.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the only thing that hurt him is the shoulder injury that I think will at least limit him. He'll be out there, but I don't know if he's going to do much hitting or any hitting at all. So I think he'll be limited in that regard.
That's a good point. Evan, I'm not going to ask you to break down the deep snappers, but I'll mention them real quick. J.R. Carr, redshirt senior. Matt Giampapa, who's a transfer from Michigan State, redshirt sophomore. I guess he'll be the backup or compete for the starting deep snapper spot. And Andrew Henry, redshirt sophomore. Now, the place kickers and punters, there's 5 of them in spring camp. Michael Pilardi, senior. Matt Darr, redshirt junior. Derek Brodus, redshirt junior, of course, from Alcoa. Ryan Alt, redshirt freshman from Brentwood. And then George Bullock, back from his injury last year, redshirt freshman. What do you think of place kickers and punters?
I think it's healthy because they're going to have competition at both the specialist spots, and not every team can say that. And Michael Pilardi, I think sometimes gets a bum rap. He's a solid competitor. Derek Brodus has been good at times. George Bullock never really got a chance to show anything last year, so he'll be in the mix. And then, Matt Darr at punter, with Pilardi able to do both. So you've got a lot of competition at those positions, and that's all you can really ask for. And you've got a mix of scholarships and walk-ons and guys with experience and guys that are up and coming.
All right, so that's our look, position by position, at Tennessee football going into spring.